This makes the Toronto Raptors unstoppable going forward, as this entire season we've seen a surprising amount of offensive firepower out of this Toronto Raptors team. And now with these latest developments, Darko Rajaković has more tools, more options to actually utilize on the offensive end to only make this team that much tougher to guard, that much tougher to stop, dare I say unstoppable. So we're going to break down what these developments are. Yes, the Raptors just beat the Brooklyn Nets, who are a tanking team, not a good team out there in the Eastern Conference, but that's not what I'm worried about. What I'm worried about are the couple of things that we are seeing in these games that if they continue over into these matchups that aren't against squads that are actively trying to lose games, it is going to be absolutely game-changing for this Toronto Raptors squad. And the first person we do have to talk about is Immanuel Quickley, a guy that I have been fairly critical of out here on the channel as to his start of the season. Now, he's expected to do a lot given his big contract and the current CBA. Once you've invested a lot in a certain player, they need to deliver in order for your team to be very effective. And tonight was definitely his best box score game of the season. Immanuel Quickley in this one ended up having 24 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 10 of 17 from the field, and then 3 of 8 from the three-point line. So overall, the numbers look good. But the thing about Immanuel Quickley's game, because starting off in this one, it looks still a little bit shaky. He was driving into traffic, hooking up these weird floaters. In transition, he still seems to be rushing these three-point shots. I don't mind three-pointers. I mind a little bit more the above-the-break three-pointers in transition offense, but Immanuel Quickley sometimes seems to rush those shots. Early on, it looked like he was taking a lot of those things, but right now, what we saw in the second half, especially for Immanuel Quickley in this game, was exactly what the Toronto Raptors need out of their point guard position, because IQ, obviously, we know can shoot the basketball. We also know he can facilitate, he can orchestrate an offense, but it's the decision-making and the consistency that has been the problem so far this year. And we're the Toronto Raptors. If we take a serious look out there at this roster and see how the offense has actually been flowing with Immanuel Quickley, right? Because Brandon Ingram, Scottie Barnes, RJ Barrett, they're all going to get you 20 a night. RJ Barrett was a little bit cold in tonight's game. Did some clutch moments, good possessions down the stretch of this one. But if Immanuel Quickley, I definitely don't want him shooting and trying to go for 20 points a game. That's not what I'm looking for. But if he just improves his decision-making, if he's able to make these little floaters, get these paint touches, and knock down his open three-point shots, timely three-point shots, because I find, especially from the point guard position, if you could just have more timely buckets, because you're the orchestrator. If you're trying to force your game and trying to get your points, trying to force this, then you get everyone else out of the rhythm. So as a scoring guard, which Immanuel Quickley is, he needs to be able to not only be efficient and score, but he has the toughest job of making sure everyone's eating, not while scoring, while doing his thing out there, ruining the momentum of other players. And that is the thing that was the biggest difference for me tonight watching Immanuel Quickley play. Yes, he scored. We've seen other games where he scored over the course of his Toronto Raptors tenure, but tonight they were timely, they were needed, and it wasn't coming off the backs of any other player's production, because the Raptors have so many options out there at the, in the offense for this season. So Immanuel Quickley needs to pick his spots, needs to set people up in the right areas, and I thought he did a masterful job of doing that, especially in the second half of this game. So great stuff there for Immanuel Quickley. Still got blown by a couple times on the defensive end, but we're talking about unstoppable, especially the offense. And that's one thing that's been great to see. And one other development that I do want to bring up is how important Jakob is to the squad, because we know I've been going on rants about the lack of depth and stuff, and how this team is just abolished. This team is cooked out there on the defensive end when Jakob Poeltl's not in the game, because they don't have enough size to match up against some of the big men out there across the NBA. It's just the reality. It's basics of basketball, right? If you're running someone that's 6 inches shorter than the other team's center is going to get a bunch of rebounds and score. And in tonight's game, all the basics, from what we saw, the Raptors did a much better job rebounding the basketball against the Brooklyn Nets, who have a sneaky, long, wiry team. Without Jakob Poeltl there, I don't think these numbers would be nearly as, much in the Toronto Raptors' favor. But all the basics that you'd expect for Jakob Poeltl are there. But the one thing I really saw from this game that impressed me, and goes on this theme of the Raptors being unstoppable, Jakob Poeltl is an elite screen setter. The Raptors are running a lot of interesting offense right now that we haven't seen in games where he's been out. The Raptors are trying to run stuff, but if your big man is an integral piece of the offense in terms of setting screens, people running off your big and trying to get open, trying to get some cuts, and a big man that can actually make reads, right? If they're setting the screen and they're cheating low, telling someone to backdoor or hitting them, angling them the right way, Jakob Poeltl has been a very effective screener for this Toronto Raptors team. And now that he's making those push shots, that he's making these passes out there in the mid-range, because he didn't look confident early on in the season with his back issues, we are seeing the offense just get taken to the next level with him out there at the 5. I mean, if you look at these actions, they keep Jakob Poeltl around the mid-post, and they are just consistently running flare cuts, running these Gradey Dick passes to the wing, and then bounces off. I remember we used to run this play out there in high school and stuff. It's noticeable, Jakob Poeltl screen seg. So I want to give credit there, and obviously on the offensive end, he played 30 minutes tonight and had 12 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, and was just overall very effective for this Raptors group. So great stuff there for Jakob Poeltl. The guy took a lot of flack out there at the start of the season. He was playing hurt, so you got to give credit, give him his flowers when he's playing really well. I stayed on the Jakob Poeltl bandwagon, but great stuff there for Big Yak and Immanuel Quickley. If those two guys out there in the starting unit are for Jakob Poeltl specifically able to play healthy, and then for Immanuel Quickley specifically are going to be able to be consistent out there. If we're getting this type of production from our starting lineup, I am very encouraged about what direction this team is going to go in. So great stuff all around on that front. Now, also in the starting lineup, Brandon Ingram was the engine of the offense in this game. 25 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He's been dealing with some off-the-court drama after he whipped a water bottle out there at a water boy's head the other day by accident, of course, but purposely threw the water bottle, but it whipped a guy dead. He spoke out of this, which I do want to bring up, as he came out and said that it was just a lot of motions of the game that came out then, and how I was playing offensively and defensively, just frustration. I just wish I wouldn't have had anyone else involved, when I did that. While I apologized a bunch of times to the kid that got hit in the face with the water ball, it wasn't my intention at all, but I was just frustrated in the midst of the game. So from the video, it looked like he had no remorse. This is something that was getting picked up everywhere by sports outlets, by every type of outlet stuff. Oh, he didn't even apologize. He's so ego. What? He apologized. He came out and said he apologized a bunch of times. So did get caught on video, but again, it was blown out of proportion somewhat, but it was a very bad moment, bad look for Brandon Ingram. But if he's apologized, people shouldn't be taking this out of proportion. Brandon Ingram, everyone spoke extremely highly of his character since he's come to the Toronto Raptors. His teammates like him, his coaches like him. It's, I'm not too worried about stuff on that front. And on the basketball court, the dude has been great for this Toronto Raptors team. Again, I brought up 25 points in this one, but he's driving the lanes and he gets you those timely buckets, man. You'd like to see a few more of those three-pointers go down, but he just gets to his mid-range spot, and those things are absolute money. They are cash. He is fluid, and the Raptors haven't had in a long time. Honestly, you might be able to argue since Kawhi Leonard, a guy on their team. Gary Trent Jr. could do it for stretches, but Brandon Ingram is a player that can legitimately get you easy shots out there in the half court. Shots where, no matter how intense the defense is, how much fluidity is happening on the offensive end, because down the stretch of games, you see a lack of ball movement for stretches because a lot of teams are afraid of turning over the basketball. Because if you're swinging the ball, whipping it around the court, there's a higher likelihood of a steal going on by the defense. And then when they steal, of course, there's usually a transition bucket, which is an easy lay for the other team. So they don't do a lot of that. So that's why you see a lot of teams go to isolation basketball or guys that are shooting tougher shots. And having a guy like Brandon Ingram that can do that, kill runs, change the momentum of how it's going for your team, it is a huge, valuable asset for this Toronto Raptors group. So very happy with Brandon Ingram's performance running through this team. RJ Barrett didn't have the greatest of games, 6 of 21 from the field, but was very good in the fourth quarter. So that's all I'm worried about. Those shots will go in. You're going to have nights like this for this Raptors team. And honestly, I know the Nets are bad, but it's impressive. The Raptors were able to get this win despite shooting 25% from the three-point line. So, good stuff there. But RJ Barrett, he'll be fine. I'm not too worried about this game. Scottie Barnes in this one didn't take too many shots. I thought he could have been a bit more aggressive. There's a lot of times when Scottie Barnes has a habit of doing this, because he facilitated. He played well. He did solid. I'm not saying Scottie had a bad game, but sometimes he loses his aggression when he gets taken out for whatever reason, whether it's, he's getting fouled and he's complaining to referees, he tweaks his hand, he tweaks his ankle, and, he has these minor injuries, but take him out just for possessions on end, sometimes quarters on end. And tonight, it felt like the referees took Scottie Barnes' just mentality out of the game. I'd like to see Scottie stay a bit more locked in out there on those possessions, but we're playing the Brooklyn Nets. I'm not too worried about it. 15, 11, and 5 for Scottie in this one. 6 and 9 shooting. But that was all good. And then off the bench, Colin Murray-Boyles looked great. 9, 4, and 1. Playing extra minutes with Sandro Mamukelashvili out with neck stiffness. Jamison Battle got 13 minutes in this. I honestly, watching the game, it felt like he was more impactful than the box score showed, but he had 3 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. I thought he's noticeably stronger this season. If you look at Jamison Battle out there on the basketball court, Matt, he is noticeably just putting in work in the weight room. So Jamison Battle, if you're 10 minutes into a Raptors Digest video right now, I want to give you some love, give you some credit. We're noticing the work you're putting in out there at the gym. So he's knocking down shots. He's always looking confident out there in that jump shot. So that is, that's what we expect from Jamison Battle off the bench. Jamal Shed, another phenomenal game in this one. 6 points, 5 rebounds. 5 assists, 1 rebound. I just love Jamal Shed's game. I love his feel for the game. I love how he impacts winning. Jamal Shed is one of my favorite basketball players in the NBA. So he was great. Jakob Walter, 2-6 from the field, hit some timely threes out there in the first half. Then didn't get much run in the rest of it. And Gradey Dick, noticeable effort out there for Gradey Dick on the defensive end, hustling for boards, running for everything. So 6 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. You might look at it and say, oh, what's going on with Gradey Dick? 0-4 from the 3-point line stuff, but everything else from Gradey was impressive. So lots of stuff to be encouraged by in this Raptors game. Again, you're playing the Brooklyn Nets. It was a fairly easy win, but they got a tough game now coming up against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are looking for revenge, for this team. They'll be back a little bit more healthy. Of course, the Raptors will be more healthy with Jakob Poeltl in the mix. So need a W here tomorrow to carry the momentum, because then you play the Pacers, the Hornets, the Sixers, who will be a nice revenge game for the Raptors as well, but then the Wizards and the Nets. You can go on a nice little win streak here if you beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in this game. So will be huge for the standings, where the Eastern Conference is so jam-packed here now at this point. So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. You guys have the best thing as far as subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.